My stream went down for a second. Oh. Stream went down. It's always a great sign. All right, so far, I did 3 sets of 10, the 40 pounds. Not gonna lie, the last couple of reps got pretty ugly. But we'll make progress. It'll be fine. Going to stick with the 40 pounds for another set. See what we can do. Thank you, Clovis. Let's see. So it's 7. Let's give it a minute and then we'll go again. How is your morning or evening or day going, Mr. Clovis? Let's go. Yes, let's go. Let's do this. Morning's going okay? Awesome. Woke up a bit too early. Yeah, that's definitely always want to get more sleep. Just got a lot on a lot on your plate. Can't too much stress. What's waking you up early? It's about almost 6. All right, I think that's it for 40s. And move on down to 30s. Can only do so much. So many ugly sets. Yeah, I'm in Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast of the U.S., California. I tell ya, you're right. I know a lot of East Coasters may disagree, but man, the weather lately, the pounding the East Coast has been taking, how much rain they're getting, the cold snaps. I don't know why people will stay on the East Coast. I mean, there are definitely some pretty spots out there, but man, taking those storms like that, not my forte. But then, of course, they think we're crazy because we have to deal with earthquakes. But I'll take shakers over shoveling snow in below zero weather or watching my house flood. Yeah. These are the 30 pounds. Did you have a good weekend, Clovis? 30 pounds. Let's go. Weekend was pretty average. Well, hopefully your average weekend is still a good weekend. I had a good weekend. I was talking earlier, had my kids were invited to a birthday party at one of those places that's all like the bounce houses and bounce obstacle courses. So it was a lot of fun. They didn't hurt themselves, which was good. My kids tend to be on the daredevil side, which is fun. Yeah, fun. They're a bit daring. Sounds like they can be a handful. And that's why you're working. Yeah, that's a big reason why I'm working out. I definitely like being able to play with them. And what's up, Bowser? And I want to be a good dad as they get older and be able to keep playing with them. And especially since when they're in high school, I will be in my 50s and pushing 60. I just don't want to be like an old man that can't throw the ball with them and stuff. So staying active. I am 38. 38. So, and I plan on living a long time. So my goal is to pack on good sustainable muscle that I can keep up on for decades and decades and decades. Bro, I'm older than you. That's an constellation. Man, you know what's weird though is I think it's funny how we compare ages like as though we all are going to live the same length of time. But like some of us have our families have gone longer, and so it's weird. Like I have people that are like, oh, like middle age is 40. I was like, but my great grandma hit 96, and she had a rough life. So I mean, I think I'm gonna hit 100 easily. It's my goal is to breeze through 100. My life has not been as hard as hers. So my middle age hopefully won't be until I'm in my 50s, 60s. I think a lot of us, I know you're saying, I don't know, I don't think I'll have that longevity, but I think a lot of us will be surprised. I think there's going to be more stuff that, health wise will be easier to take care of as we get older. better access to medicine, better understanding of medicine. Like there's a lot of bullets we're dodging now. Prolonged suffering, maybe. I mean, I think I think if you're like really old and you're not enjoying life, that's rough. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but I do think a lot of people are gonna be fine. I think a lot of people have the potential. I think what's gonna slow down our generation and younger generations from living a long life is going to be purely perspective. Like my grandpa, my great grandpa died in his 70s, I believe. So my grandpa always thought he was going to be dead around the same time, and now he's cooking into his 80s, and he's doing pretty good in his 80s. He's had this perspective though that he'd be dead, and so now he's having to readjust that perspective or rethink it through, and his plans. Like, wasn't planning on being around that long, so it is possible that he shortens his ability to live a long time because he had a perspective that he's going to die sooner. So he planned on dying sooner, and now he's made it this far. He could probably go farther if he doesn't get tired and his perspective doesn't change. I know like perspective won't overcome a major health concern, like if you have genetically, if you have a bad heart or heart valves or you have bad liver or all these issues, but I think a lot of us can live a long time if we just make pretty good decisions. I think things will be progressively better. Unless it turns out our cell phones are giving us cancer. And then we're all screwed. If cell phones equal cancer, we're fried. I think the microplastics giving us cancer more than cell phones. Yeah, I've heard a lot of talks about microplastics. It's definitely a concern. I heard them talking about it having effects on people's ability to reproduce. Um, I don't know how accurate it is. It doesn't sound good though. I always hear that one where they say that we ingest like a credit card worth of plastic like every couple of months or so. I forget what it is. It's one of those like scary ideas they put out there. But I'm gonna try not to let the plastic slow me down or the cell phones. Well, with how the way the world is, some people are better off not producing. You know what I mean? There's some genes we don't need in the general pool. Curls for the girls. Yeah, I think definitely you meet people, they're like, oh man, I really hope you don't have kids. But unfortunately, I mean, I think a lot of that comes down to just education. just people that never had an opportunity to be sat down and things explained to them in a way that would resonate with them and make them want to make better decisions. I think education is important, and I'm not just talking about school. There's a tendency to lay everything that's wrong with society at the feet of like the public school system. But the fact is, the first person's job it is to educate is the parents. And at the end of the day, if your kids lack a proper education, it's the parent's responsibility. You shouldn't, as a parent, throw your hands up and be like, "Oh man, the public schools they failed them." No, but you had something to do with that. It was your job. I can't. I refuse to hand over the responsibility of teaching my kids solely to a public school or any school. It's my responsibility to make sure my kids are educated. It's my responsibility to make sure my kids understand the world around them and how to best function in it. And I think that's where a lot of people unfortunately miss out. Thank you, Short King. Especially where we're at in California. I mean, where I'm at in California, our public school system is pretty horrific. But I just don't want to. I don't want that to slow down my kids. When I spent the first my elementary school and my middle school was in the California public school system, and it was rough. But I went to a very, very poor elementary school. We had a lot of violence, a lot of not great teachers, and I was the shortest kid in my class for the longest time. So that was rough until I learned how to fight. And then that changed. The shortest kid in my class in elementary went on to become a motorcycle riding muscle dude and taller than I. I always hoped that was going to be my story. I I have two uncles, my mom's brothers, that were over 6'2". And one was 6'3" and one was just over 6'2". And I crossed my fingers. My dad is only 5'10". And I was hoping my whole life I was going to magically take after my uncles and be a giant. And it never happened. Not, but I am taller than my grandpa, who was like yay tall. I'm taller than my great grandpa, who was like yay tall. So hopefully my kids will be tall. My wife is my height. I'm 5'9". So I'm really hoping she will be or my kids will take after her and get some better height on them than what I provided. Taller than you. Well, you want to hear something funny though? I have a pretty substantial forehead, and even though I think I'm a half inch taller than my wife, um, my forehead is so big compared to her forehead that if you measure us, her eyes are taller than my eyes. So even though I'm taller, top of my head is taller, she has a taller perspective on the world because she does not have a massive forehead. I thought that was interesting. Her, we've been together for like 14 years, and her sister is like a quarter inch shorter than me. But in the 14 years we've been together, we've had to measure back to back like 3 times because people like in her family always forget that I'm taller and they think she's taller. I'm like, no, I promise you I'm taller. It's been 3 times where we've had to measure. But when I figured out the eyes thing, I had her measure her eyes too. And I think her eyes are like an inch, almost an inch taller than my eyes. So when people look at her, um, they have to look higher to make eye contact with her than they do me. So they think that she's taller. Do your kids have your forehead? One of them does. One of them has my forehead. One of them has my exact skull shape, which I have a big head. So, one of my kids, their head is so big that when we went in for a doctor's appointment when they were a baby, the nurse measured the head. Said, oh, that's big. Wrote it down. The doctor came in, and the nurse wasn't there. Was looking at the measurements, and was like, "Oh, I think she made a mistake. I'm gonna go ahead and remeasure because this is very big." It's like, okay. And he remeasured, like, no, she was right. It's just baby has a really big head. Like, yeah, that's that's how it goes. I hope bigger heads are more brain power. I would like that to be true. I always want to make my shoulders bigger because I feel like bigger shoulders offset how big my head looks. But no matter how much I increase my shoulders, still it's very noticeable that I have a big head. But I'm good with it. I've seen I've seen bigger. How tall are you, Clovis? You said you're shorter. 5'6". Nice. Well, at least you hit the average height for women. When I was a kid growing up, that was my goal. All I wanted to do was hit 5'6". So it's like, at least if I hit 5'6", I'll be as tall as the average woman. Height does not run in your family. No, but you beat out 5'2" and 5 feet. There you go. That's that's the perk. See, my grandpa is shorter than you, and he didn't get that. He's got definitely some very skinny legs. Do you lift, Clovis? I'll tell you, man. If you already got the calves, that's gonna be the envy of the gym. Way more people have big biceps over big calves, but the those calves will draw the attention. They'll just assume you've got the best squats and leg day. Well, good, man. I mean, that's where kind of what I shoot for is. I know there's a lot of fitness streamers that look impressive and great and all, and I do want to get into better shape, but I figured I would start streaming while I was not, in shape. I got the still got the nice gut, plenty to work on, you know, and then you'll see what how it goes. The nice thing too is if you're looking to doing the same thing and getting into it, I do all my exercises with dumbbells. You can find fairly expensive dumbbell sets on like Amazon. Um, I did get the one set from Costco, but this is a set I've been working with for a long time that I just got off of Amazon years ago, and it served me really well for a long time. I had to get um, some 10-pound plates to go for it though to be able to keep pushing up, but it's great. That's true. You don't need to look like the Greeks. It's very true. Plus that was their ideal, and they never had to combat fast food. I think the Greeks would have looked a little different if McDonald's had reached out to them at that time. You don't need to give up fast food. I had Taco Bell this week. This last week. You don't need to give up fast food. I mean, if it's killing you, yeah, give it up. Nah, I will get fast food. Um, the part I don't like about getting fast food is I prefer to do it during the weekend when I'm not working out. Because if I eat fast food, I can definitely feel it the next day when I'm working out. That and drinking. I prefer if I'm going to be drinking to drink on the weekend because I don't like rolling into a workout and not feeling good because of drinking, and that tends to be what happens. So I used to drink Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, but like man, it really is not fun rolling into Monday. So I drink Friday and Saturday night. Oh man, I'm sorry. Also have some heart issues. But definitely, if you're gonna start lifting and exercising like heavier weights, like make sure you run it past your doctor. But that sucks, man. How are you feeling now? Where's your heart getting better? And make sure you get a good doctor that really will like listen and give you the time of day to, and not just give you a snap response about what's good for you. And yeah, what are you what are you doing now as far as like exercise for like doing any walking for mobility or anything? Tell you, man, walking is a way to start for sure. Dumbbells. Um, Obviously, I don't know where you are at weight size, but for me, in my so in 2020 was the first time like I got really heavy. For me, I hit 235 pounds by the end of 2020. So in 2021, what's up, fellow dad? Awesome, great. Um, my so 2020 at 235 by the end of 2020. 2021, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into shape. My brother had some friends. They were doing like a 3 month workout challenge. So I was all right, cool. So I went from 235 in 3 months. I got down to 203, and then I tore my I tore a muscle. Like the last week of the challenge, I tore it, and that sucked. So because then I couldn't lift, I couldn't run, and for me, if I'm not lifting, if I'm not exercising, I drink a lot more. It's just what I don't feel like drinking if I'm working out. I feel good. If I'm not drink or working out, I tend to start to drink again. So in 2021, I went from getting down to 203 to going all the way up to 246. And that scared me so much because getting from 203 to 220 took like half a year. And then 220 to, I mean, more than half a year, but the jump from 220 to 230 was fast. But the jump from 230 to 246 was like overnight. I mean, it was scary fast. And I was so crushed to get to that point. And I was scared because my dad is heavier. My dad's been pretty heavy most of my life, and I never wanted to get to that point. And I knew from how fast I went from 230 to 246, if I didn't do something, I was going to be looking at 260 like within like a couple of weeks because that's how fast like gaining weight was going. So In 2022, I made weight loss was my goal, not trying to do as much weightlifting. So all I wanted to do was to one get my pec, and I tore my shoulder a little bit, get my pec and my shoulder a chance to heal, but lose the weight before it got really bad. So in 2022, I managed to drop about 60 pounds. And going back to you, Clovis, the start of that was just walking. Um, couldn't really run a lot because I get shin splints, especially when I'm heavier. It happens more often. But just walking. I was walking 2 to 3 miles a day, but it's not starting out with that. Starting out with like doing like 1 mile walks a day and just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And that's how I lost 60 pounds. I barely did any weightlifting. Unfortunately, I did lose like some muscle mass. I got down to 184. Right now, I'm riding around 200 pounds. So in 2003, put some more of the weight on, but nothing crazy. And I started lifting again, so that put back on muscle mass. Um, but yeah, I think definitely when you are starting out and like losing that weight is the good primary focus. For me, it is because when I'm lifting and trying to lose weight, those two things conflict with each other. I'm putting on muscle mass, so my weight's not dropping off. So then I get bummed out that I'm not losing what I want to lose. I'm just seeing gains, or it's not going down as fast, and you get really bummed out. So I just picked, for a year to focus on losing weight and set weightlifting aside, and that helped me keep going with my motivation. And uh, that was a rough year. So it was not easy, but I felt like I had to get it done, or I was going to just never get it done. Yeah, yes, yeah. Starting with the walking, and the nice part is when you start out with walking, you have less you have less excuses for not doing it. That's what I found. If you're like going to the gym, or if you're working out in your garage, or whatever you're doing, it's easier to make excuses to not start if your goal is something that's very ambitious. But just walking, you know, and what I found is walking around like my neighborhood is boring over time. Like in any walk you do, it's repetitive, it gets boring. So for me, the thing I found is as I was doing it, it made me want to do it faster, get through it quicker. So then, you start jogging. After a while, you start running some of it and just, trying to make it a little bit quicker. Yeah, start with walking. And like I said, you got the light dumbbells. That's great too. You know, just don't do anything that's gonna actually hurt you. That's gonna slow you down from doing that weight loss. Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the sage advice. My pleasure. I mean, it's definitely something that like we all have to work on. And I sometimes I feel like the way the fitness industry goes, it can make hitting goals difficult for a lot of people that are starting out from a bad spot. And, you know, they can, there's a lot of people that can hit the ground at 100 miles an hour and keep going. And there's those of us that just are at a spot where we can't. And when you have people like telling you, like, oh, go do this, go do that, and like, you know, trying to push you in a direction too fast, that's where you get hurt. And then you don't hit your goal, you get depressed. You know, I'm a big believer that long term change fitness has to come from having long term goals that are attainable and not doing the quick like I'm gonna lose 30 pounds in 30 days or 3 months. Like, you know, sitting down and making reasonable attempts. All right, that's it for the day. I'm out of time. Well, thank you for hanging out, Clovis. It's good to see you, Bowser. Appreciate the encouragement, guys. Thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you again, Clovis. And we'll see you again, Bowser. Monorail, Blue. Hope you're doing well. And God bless you guys. Thank you for coming around. See ya. Have a good Monday.